Okay, welcome everybody to the Wyoming State Library's first edition of PB&J. My name is
Yay!
Paige Bredenkamp. I'm the e-resources and school library consultant here at the Wyoming State Library, and I am the PB to the PB&J. With me is my
I'm the
colleague.
J.
Woo!
I'm the J to the PB&J. I'm Joanne Pruitt, the Youth Services Consultant at the Wyoming State Library. And we are excited to start this new webinar series. So let me share our screen with you. Okay. Paige, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am, Jay.
Okay, PB. So first up, in our databases, we're going to go through Mometrix.
Why are we doing this?
Today is a good day for PB&J. Yeah. Yes, welcome to all the fun that is PB&J. We came up with that jingle. So go ahead, Paige.
So, something we should talk about before we go any further is that GoWild.net is going to have some new authentication processes happening. The University of Wyoming has also contributed to the databases that are available to everybody in Wyoming. But as of July 2025, the access to the UW funded resources are going to require a public library card. No matter where you are, if you're at school, in a library, at home, on the road, you'll need a public library card. The only exception to that is if you're on a community college campus in Wyoming or the University of Wyoming campus. Those are the only places you'll get open access to the University of Wyoming funded resources. The Wyoming State Library funded resources are still open access. So if you're at school and you're trying to get into, let's say, Mometrix, you can still access that freely. No matter what, if you are at home or on the road, that remote access has always and will continue to need a public library card. So just a few changes there. If you have any questions about how to access resources, just give us a buzz at the Wyoming State Library. When you are in gowild.net and you're looking at databases, the icons here and the icon legend, you can tell which ones are going to need a library card to access. The UW funded resources will need a library card to access. The WSL funded resources, you only need a library card if you're at home or on the road. If you're at school or in a library, you can access those freely. So
Thanks, Paige.
you bet. Now we can dive into Mometrix. So let's give you a little heads up about navigating Mometrix. If you're not familiar with Mometrix, it is a test prep and career building resource. And
Mhm.
again, it is free for everybody in the state of Wyoming. Why don't you take us to Mometrix? Yep, right there. That's where I wanted to go. Thank you, Jay.
You're
So
welcome, PB.
Mometrix is a place that you can go to find test prep, and that would include things like flashcards, interactive flashcards that you can use to study for a particular test. There are study guides. There are also practice tests. Some of the main tests that you might be familiar with that you could use this for is the ACT for college admissions and placement. And that is if you have a high schooler or you have you're a librarian and you want to point students to some test prep resources. This would be the place to go. Not only is there ACT test prep, there's SAT test prep, there's pre-ACT test prep, there's AP, Advanced Placement Classes test prep. There's also IB, if you are familiar with the Interbaccalaureate program, there's which some of our schools in Wyoming do have that program. There's some test prep for that. Also, if you're looking for um, graduate school test prep, such as if you need to study for the GRE or if you want to get into a medical school, there's GMAT, there's LSAT, several different tests that you can use to study and prepare for graduate and professional school. There are test prep resources for nursing if you want to get a CNA license, if you want to, yeah, there we go, cardiac and vascular nurse exam, certified nurse educator exam, and a lot of exams that I have no idea what the acronyms stand
All the
for.
acronyms.
All
Oh.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, uh, let's go to the career box right there. Yes, this is one that you might find a big use for if you want to be an auctioneer, but also for people studying for their CDL. There's information about that. As you can see there, air brakes, practice test question, cargo tank. So some very specific tests. And then practice tests, some of them have more than one practice test that you can use, but then you can also look at the answers and use that as a study tool. Um, if you go back out to career, there's cosmetology, there's midwives exam, funeral service, esthetician, GED. This might be one that you find useful helping patrons or anybody else that might come into your orbit. If you want to be a private investigator, which I have been looking at that, that is fantastic. One of the things about these tests and flashcards is if you're curious about a career or a pathway, you can learn a little bit about it just by looking at the flashcards. If you click on that home button, that'll take you right back out to the home page of Mometrix. It's under Go Wild.
Go Wild Home.
Home, yes. So in nutrition, um, you can find some things to become a nutritionist, dietary manager, a lot of different options. And it's just a great way to study for college prep as well as if you want to make a change in your career. There on the left-hand side there,
Awesome.
there is how to use Mometrix library. That's a little video you can use, and that gives you that yellow box. That gives you a little background and gives you more information about using this wonderful resource. Down in the employment resources box, this is something really awesome. This is a resource. It gives you tools for questions to ask in an interview, questions that you might be asked in an interview, updating your resume. And if you go down just a little bit, there's how to apply for scholarships. Would you click on that, Joanne?
Sure.
This, scroll down just a little. It goes through a few of the different types of scholarships, but stop at that unique scholarships. This was news to me. So there are some very unique scholarships that you can find, like the Create a Greeting Card Scholarship Contest. It awards $10,000 for winning a greeting card creating contest, or Stuck at Prom Scholarship Contest Awards, for creating a prom dress or tuxedo out of duct tape. So there are some fun little niche scholarships that you can find, but it also shares some information about applying for your more run-of-the-mill scholarships, such as academic scholarships. But it also helps you with financial aid applications and just a wealth of information if you're trying to, if you have students, children, or you're trying to get into college, just a wealth of information about how to apply, how to conduct the interviews, just step by step how to get to where you want to be in your career pathway. And then one last thing I want to share before I turn it over to Joanne for some hands-on activities. The Mometric eLibrary videos, would you click on that briefly? Thank you.
You're
This is
welcome.
where you can find some videos, and it's everything from business and finance, English, teaching. If you are a teacher or if you're helping your student with any of with their work, if you click on that English watch, there's a series of videos under each of these buttons, and they're brief videos, so they don't take very long to watch, but you can learn all sorts of information about English, grammar, how to write, reading comprehension, just so many tools. So if you're teaching, if you're learning, here's another place you can go to with some interactive tools and nice videos, nicely done videos. I've watched a few of them and yeah, just very interesting. So this, if you're putting together lesson plans or anything like that, you can just go there and find some information to help add a little variety to the media that you use when you're teaching. Or if you're trying to learn something, here is another pathway that you can use to try and absorb the information that you're getting.
This definitely
And
would have
that,
been a great resource to have. Just play the movie as your intro in class and go from there.
yes. Yes, yes, and yeah, just even having students at home, watch this if you need a little assistance with if you're struggling with the concept. We were both English teachers, Joanne and I, so this hits home. So now that you're a little bit familiar with Mometrix and what it has to offer, uh, I'm going to let Joanne show you some activities that you can do with Mometrix.
Thank you. So are you able to see my Canvas screen now? Is that what's up?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so now we're going to look at how you can use Mometrix in your library programming. I know a lot of people will instantly think Mometrix is a test prep tool, which it is, so you automatically think of using it in schools, but we can use it in our libraries as well, and we've come up with some fun ways to do that. But before I do that, I wanted to explain the whole reason this came about was at our YSIG mini conference last May. I presented about our different databases, and Mometrix was one of those databases. And some of the feedback I received was, this was great, but we need more. How can we go more in depth with this database? How can we actually make it applicable and usable in our libraries? So this is how this came about to answer those questions. So we mentioned this previously. I, just being a previous English teacher, I've noticed being a teacher turned librarian or consultant that there's a bit of a gap between school libraries and public libraries, and we need to try and bridge that gap and work off each other. So one way we can do that is by inviting our public librarians into the school system and vice versa. And with Mometrix, that's a great in. So maybe reaching out to your local high school counselors and seeing if they need more materials for ACT or SAT test prep. And all of these are available on Mometrix, like Paige previously said. If you have people or patrons that are looking to join any armed services, the ASVAB test is on there as well. These are all practice tests. Or if there are educators that are trying to recertify or certify for the first time, Praxis is the test that they have to pass to get their teaching certification. So there are different avenues in which you can use Mometrix to bridge that gap to your public schools as well. Other ideas and partnerships that you can create are through community colleges, universities, technical and trade schools. There's a whole section in the career section in Mometrix where you can work on your CDL or you can work on your carpentry different levels. Other ideas are workforce centers in your community or job placement offices. So what I came up with was a 6-week program, and it's just once a week. It doesn't have to span the course of 6 weeks, but there's 6 set programs available, and it's like a test success boot camp. So each week there's going to be a different test strategy or category that you would focus on. For example, test anxiety tips or video tutorials, time practice tests, and it's just a great way to come together as a community because nobody loves taking tests. I know I never did. So this is a great community building exercise, and people get to better themselves as well. Library staff will be able to guide participants by creating personalized study plans and giving handouts to their different patrons that attend the boot camps. You can also take these boot camps to those different partners. So you can take this to your high school counselors or to your workforce development centers and share with them as well. So these are the 6 different categories. The first one would just be an intro to Mometrix, very similar to what Paige did, just a breakdown of how to log in using your library card, since some patrons may do this at home as well for more practice, and how to access Mometrix. The second one is a GED ready room where it helps patrons get prepared for their GED, and that has different study guides, flashcards, and interactive practice tests on Mometrix. Third one is college-bound tests, so ACT, SAT. Fourth is a career jumpstart, and this is more your technical career tests and focuses on like your CDL, etc. Number 5, Healthcare Hero. When Paige went over the different, just for example, the nursing tests, I didn't realize there were so many of them. There's a lot in all the acronyms, so there you go. And the 6th one can be a celebration. So you can celebrate with each other, have a pizza party, and really just celebrate all the hard work that you and your patrons have done together. Because testing is hard. I'm not going to go through each one, but I did just want to show you what we've built and the different handouts that you're able to access. I've created all of these, so you are free to print them off, use them in your library, share with whomever you need to. So the first one is the Mometrix 101. The program would go as follows. The librarian or volunteer or staff member would give a live demo of Mometrix. You would have it on a smartboard on a big screen just to show patrons how to navigate the website. This will help your visual learners, and it'll just be good practice. Then you can hand out a What's Your Test worksheet, and this helps patrons identify their study goals. That way you can have a discussion with your patrons and it can be more interactive. And the takeaway that patrons would receive is this printout right here, which is a study planner. It has their test goals, focus areas. There's a QR code here that'll take them directly to Mometrix. Something to note, if patrons are trying to use this QR code to log into Mometrix, they will be led to a landing page where they have to enter their library card and PIN number. And once they do that, like on their phone, then they're able to access the other Mometrix pages without having to redo it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. So the next one, and again, I'm just gonna whiz past these because we don't have that much time. But the second one is the GED Ready Room. So this is alternative ed and GED success. This is the Mometrix eLibrary. These are the different study cards that you can use. There's a box set that you are able to print or just click on, but then there's also an interactive set that patrons can interact or play with and click on it. Kind of like, oh, what's that other Quizlet? Is it Quizlet, I believe? But this is all free. You don't have to pay for anything, and that's huge. I remember as a teacher, when we were trying to do our like ACT prep week, the week before our testing for the school, we would try and come up with our own flashcard system, and it was just a lot of work. And if we would try and get it online, a lot of the programs online, you only get a certain amount free, and then you have to start paying, and nobody has the money for that. So
Oh, this is such a great resource for that.
yeah,
Oh,
so this is all free. Everything is there. You don't have to, the only thing you have to do is log in with your library card. So it's a great resource.
thank you, libraries.
Yes.
And thank you, Wyoming State Library.
Nice plug. Good plug there, Paige. I love it.
GoWild.net.
Going wild. Oh, so the takeaway that patrons would come home with is the GED study plan printout. And there are those other QR codes that takes them directly to those specific GED resources. So again, they would have to log on to Mometrix first, and then they can access all of these pages after. College bound, we went over this a little bit, ACT and SAT success. So there are all of those. And the takeaway is a checklist with quick links and QR codes for ACT and SAT preparation tools and some study tips. These are some things that I found online, as well as things that I always taught my students. For example, when you go through the test, initially answer everything that you are for sure about, like all the questions that you're pretty much like set in stone. I know this is the answer, or maybe I'm like 90% sure, and then go back because it's a time test. So then you can go back if there's time at the end to answer the questions you were unsure about. Just some little tidbits there. The ASVAB and job specific tests. The ASVAB is for any armed forces or armed services testing. So it's for any of the different branches, not just one. And it gives you an intro to that and helps you study for it. There are other tests for civil service, CDL, and other job-based exams. Healthcare Hero, the takeaway would be the QR codes to all the medical professional pages. The three main pages are a medical professional page, a nursing page, and then a medical technology page. Because you saw there were so many different tests and so many different branches from each one, I just focused on the three top, and then people can find their way, hopefully, at that point. So for the final week, I created a little certificate of completion because everybody wants to feel special. So this is something that I have included the Canva link to, and you are able to include patrons' names in here and edit it, as well as your library or library name. And finally, for patrons to continue in this process and continue in this community of studying and bettering themselves, you can have a Study Buddy sign-up sheet. It's very simple. They would just have their names. You can have different types of signups. So this one is for high school classes. Let's say I need help with, I never took calculus, but if I was taking calculus in high school, I would need all the help I could get. And so this is another avenue that students can take. And you can also, in this section up here, you can have a QR code that just has a link to sign up for a study room in the library if your library has that set up. If not, you can just put your library logo in that area or delete it completely. So these are editable and you're able to use them in your libraries. An idea is you could have different clipboards with all of these sign-up sheets as one of your bulletin boards in your library so patrons can access it easily. So here are all the different QR codes. And I believe Greg has put this presentation up on our WSL state website.
Website, yeah.
Yes, so you're able to click on these resources, you're able to get the links to the different resources, as well as rewatch this video because it's being recorded. So you can always freeze the screen, press pause, and scan the QR codes with your devices. Yeah.
Wow, this is wonderful, Joanne. This is
Thanks, PB.
fantastic. Yeah. No, I love how you broke it down into 6 weeks and they're all very they're self-contained, but they can also go together as a whole. And the additional resources that you created for them, I think it's wonderful and manageable for people, for busy librarians, to just, pull and use. So
Yeah.
great work.
Yes. So we hope that this will be useful for libraries and librarians alike, that it'll help to bridge that gap in your communities and get into places you haven't been before, with different patrons and new patrons. And if you have any questions or need additional resources, please feel free to reach out to Paige or myself, because that's what we're here for. And we hope that this will continue to be something that's helpful and useful to you all. We're trying to make this a monthly webinar. We don't have our next date up yet, but we will get there. And I believe our next resource database is going to be Culturegrams. So,
And
very
that is a
fun
fun one.
resource. It's
Yes.
really fun. And I've come up with some really cool programming. At least I think so. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
I'm excited to share it with everyone. So please tune in next time for that.
Thank you
Yes.
for joining us, everyone. And thank you, Jay.
Thanks, PB. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Today is a good day
For PB&J. Yeah.